This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Dean Jean. Dean Jean. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Hello, America, and welcome to the #1 radio station in all of Fort Myers Beach. Beach Talk Radio. Here are your hosts, Kim and Ed Ryan.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to a special Friday night show of Beach Talk Radio. We are live from our home studio, and we're going to get an update from Ben on the Moss Marina project. And what?
It's not really a studio. It's just our spare bedroom.
From our house. Got to make it sound official. And also later on at the end, hot off the presses, you know, that letter that the town was saying it was going to send all the property owners about their unsafe structures just came out 10 minutes ago. So we'll tell you all about it later on. But first, let's introduce the star of the show. There he is right there, Ben Freeland. Ben, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing excellent. We appreciate you coming on and giving us an update on everything.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate you guys and what you're doing, and it's good to share the news and the updates. So looking forward to it.
So Ben, before we get to the questions about your project, a lot of other things have been going on in the community, and so last night they held a event for the new Myerside presentation and their plans. What did you think about that? What do you think about what Myerside has on the table?
I thought that looked really interesting. Looked like a really quality looking design. It looked like there was good feedback from the community on it. So it looked like they were doing it the right way. So I don't know the details of their, I can't give any specifics on it, but from what I saw and heard, it looked like they're going about it the right way.
Now, the other thing since the last time we spoke is you picked up two more or maybe one more piece of property, the SOB and the piece of property across the street from there, which they used as a parking lot and I think like a shop to sell gear. So what was the thinking behind why you wanted those properties?
Well, I think it was part of the community input, right? We've done so much outreach, and one of the concerns of the neighborhood was commercial traffic back through the neighborhood, which we currently do now with the marina. But if we went with this type of project and mixed use village concept, how much traffic would go down their road. So acquiring those are actually four lots there total. Okay. And but bringing them in gave us a really solid entry right off of 3rd Street and at the corner of Old San Carlos. Now pedestrians and vehicles, bikes, everyone can come in straight off that corner or go on down towards the to the bay and then come in the other way. So we just felt it was made a lot of sense. And so, from input and just looking at the overall site design, talking to our design team, they said, hey, this is a no-brainer. This is something we should really bring into the project.
So that the property across is a parking lot, then you would open that up so that there would be a roadway or a walkway and a roadway, so folks wouldn't have to, because it is a small little community behind right there. Yeah.
So if you look at our plans on our website, it shows the entry there, and so we'd have a building there on the corner of 3rd and Old San Carlos, maybe a small grocery store, a brewery was already planned there. Then there would be some light parking, but that'd be the main entry road coming in. So it kind of introduces the arches concept. They come in right off that corner and they start their journey right into the arrival plaza and the entry plaza, so they can come in and get right into the whole project. And so they go right into our parking from there and into the parking garage. So we just thought it was a no-brainer.
So the SOB property, I know you're hoping to be able to find somebody to kind of take it over and run it as SOB. Any news on how that's coming along?
Yeah, we'll have some announcements coming shortly. So we had a lot of interest, man. It was exciting to see how many people were so loyal to that brand, and we've been trying to keep some of their social media alive and seeing how many business owners and operators are interested in that project and their brand moving forward. So we'll have some announcements soon. We just ended taking proposals at the end of the month. So Thomas and I are working through those, and as soon as we make a final announcement, we'd love to share it with everyone. And but I think it's something we're hoping the community really can jump aboard and continue the success they've had there for a number of years. So we want to try to do it right.
Does that building need to be, what needs to happen with that building? What are you going to do there?
We'll be redoing it. So there's a lot of rebuilding to go on there. And so we'll be remodeling it and getting it up to code. So we wanted to wait till the partnership was finalized before we finished the plan. So make sure that the kitchen and all the little things that operators would be particular about, we do it the right way for them. So we'll be working on that as part of the proposal. So that'll start happening pretty quickly.
So it doesn't need to be demoed then. It was okay with the 50% rule. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. No, structurally sound, good there. And so, yep. So should be able to get it up and going. The only thing we've delayed is getting the right operator.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's amazing.
I remember seeing the water
picture.
level.
Yeah.
How high that was coming down that road.
Yeah, that was one of the main pictures we got was, oh, there's the roof, and that was it. So that's great.
What dries out, little time. And now this week, with Adelia going by, I do want to do a shout out to everybody's affected by that. I know up in the Big Bend area, and then even on the island, man, it's amazing how much water we had over the weekend. That's all the photos. We sent you a couple of our property there at the, resiliency, man. I think I put that in the little title there. People try to downplay it, and but that's a huge issue we've all got to wrestle with moving forward.
Let's talk about that. Ben sent over a couple of pictures where it looked like your whole piece of property over there was flooded. I mean, the water was everywhere. And so how does that impact if you get your plans approved? Like, will you be so much higher that that's not going to be an issue anymore?
Right. So I think when you look at our plan, we built for that. So we looked at what Ian did, and we use that as the benchmark. So we saw what it did to Marina Village next door. So we put 6 feet of freeboard above what FEMA is requiring. Plus, we've raised our whole site 2 feet in addition. And we had done that from the beginning. So last week didn't change that. It just confirmed we were doing the right thing. So when you look at some of the things like in height we're looking for, that's really for resiliency. A lot of that is resiliency. So you look at that understory down there, that's 21 feet. Where you see the arches and all that understory where the parking is. And not only does that create a lot of resiliency, it makes it a lot better. So underneath there, you can see through that whole parking garage out to the bay. You can get emergency vehicles under there, service back of house vehicles. So now we don't have dumpsters over by neighbors' homes. That was a big concern they had. So that was another reason we said, no, we're sticking with the height we looked at, because it gives us so many benefits, with the resiliency and the quality of the product. And it's just a better experience when you walk in there. I mean, it's going to be open and airy. It's just not a dark, dungy parking lot.
So when the water's pretty close to where the walk around will be. So are you kind of building it up from the grass to the walk around to your building, so that what you showed us with those pictures doesn't happen? That flooding was crazy.
Yeah, well, if you go back to that one you had there, you see that kind of the seawall goes up higher. So right now our property is kind of crowned.
I see.
So
most of
the stuff we'll be adding will be to bring that seawall up higher, and that stops that wave action. And on extreme moments, there still may be some flooding over that, right? Or if we get a direct hit with a hurricane again, definitely. But maybe that if this past week, maybe that would stop some of that water, the majority of that water from going over the top and coming down the residential streets. And
so the dock that you see in that picture, they'll also be raised up?
Those are all floating docks. And that's just the concept of the dock. So we currently have 4 piers that come out, and that was a design they had. And so we'll that's not the final dock plan. So I think I've said that a number of times. That was something they kind of took some artistic freedom to tie in. So we got to work with the state, and that's the whole, you think the towns are, complicated to deal with land development and comprehensive plan, go do underwater land leases with the state. It's a lot more detailed. So more to come on that.
So you guys did, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So he tells me, we divide up the questions a little bit, and then he starts to steal the question that I had. So how did the ferry survey work out? What information did
right.
you glean from that?
Well, let's tell you, over 800 responses. Can you
Sweet.
believe that?
That's a
That's
lot.
pretty powerful, right? Top things they wanted in amenities, so they wanted covered roof, they wanted charging ports and bathrooms, right? And they wanted drinks on board. So those were the main things. They thought the pricing, we modeled a little bit what they're doing in Fort Lauderdale, seemed to have the most comprehensive kind of water ferry taxi service. So we kind of use them as a reference point for pricing. They thought the pricing was fairly in line. They'd like to see at least hourly pickup. And then, and a lot of usage. I mean, I got to tell you, people were excited about it. And but mostly for fun. We didn't see a lot of people using it for going to work every day. Didn't seem to be the use, but I don't think that was expected anyway. But man, during the season and peak times, a lot of people wanted to come from the south end to the north end to spend their money. We heard a lot of people currently during season in those condos, they drive to Naples rather than try to drive to the south end of the island to go eat and hang out. So you think about that could be a lot of revenue coming back down to the restaurants and bars and things down on the north end of the island. So we're excited. We're financially committed to this in our application. We said we're behind it. We've got all the marina owners that we've talked to all of them. The Mount House, got all the stops organized. People have signed letters of commitment to participate and or even financially obligate themselves to join in with us. So this is something we've taken very seriously and made this incorporated as part of what our plan to move forward.
What is the pricing? Is the pricing based on going, north to south, south to north, or is it for coming across?
More like passes, or like the double-decker buses in some cities. You just get on and off as you want. So I think what we floated out there, what was like a $10 day pass, $25 weekly pass, $40 monthly pass, $100 for the season, things like that. $250 annual if you're there all the time, and you just get on and off as you want. Right.
And then would it go across if people did want to come over from the other side? Like if they were
where would
parking
the
over
path
there?
be, Ben? What is your vision of where it would go, where it would start, where it would end, where it would stop?
Who we've got committed now, so let's just go furthest north, Pink Shell to our property. Tom at Margaritaville has talked about, but that canal might be a little tight. We have to figure out if we can get in and out of there. But then on down to the Mount House, to Snookbite, Mid Island, to Fishtail. Coming back, go to Salty Sam's on the other side. Go to Bay Harbor next to them. Go to Dock Ford's, and then go back up to Pink Shell and keep doing that loop about every hour.
So people, if they were on the south end, where would they park?
That would be something that we need to work out. And that's what each of the marinas and the pickup and drop off locations would need to work on. Right. So can you ride your bike or walk in the locations? We had some great recommendations for additional points. Some folks wanted to be able to go to maybe Carl Johnson Park and get to Lover's Key off that dock there, or maybe go to Flippers at the south end, or another stop somewhere in the Mid Island if we could figure it out. So, so we're open to, finding the right fit and locations. And parking will be an issue. Yeah.
Will it be one boat, or are you looking, what are you thinking? Or
it'll be multiple, right? So we're going to have a frequency that makes sense, right? So during season, and how often you're coming by and how long that loop is, right? So if it's an hour loop, we might need 2 to 3 boats running, and how many people, then how many are getting on and off would be another thing. So if we're getting a lot of usage and we can afford to put more boats in service, and probably I'm sure season will be totally different than off season. And to be honest, and as we get started, right, the island's not back going yet. So we're a year into this, and if I wanted to start it tomorrow, there'd be nobody to ride it. So 3 to 5 years from now, it'll be really vibrant.
Are these boats that you would contract out with somebody that already does this service, or you would build the boats yourself?
Well, we're talking to one of the locations and over the Bay Harbor, and Jack and his team are talking about possibly operating it. We're talking to folks from outside the area if it makes sense, but we're going to be responsible for making sure it all comes together. So that's one thing that, Arches Bayfront's taking the lead on this and making a financial commitment that we'll buy the boats, put them in if we need to, and get partnerships, or we'll bring a service that comes in and runs it the way that we're talking about. So, but hopefully we'll have it locally owned, and maybe Jack and his group will finalize that, or maybe we'll join together and do it. Get a number of us and do it together. But we think it's important. It'll help our fair, or our project, as well as the island in total.
Maybe it could be like the subway, where there's like a local and then an express. That just, yeah.
Speedboat?
No, but just one that just goes to two spots instead, and then one that goes to a local.
Maybe you should get on the committee.
Can I drive one of the boats?
Hey, you're going to be the captain. You got to get your island history down.
No kidding.
We're talking to Lauderdale and some of those that do it well already, and seeing what works, right? So ideas are easy, getting them implemented, getting enough people to use them for the right thing. Yeah. So, but man, I tell you, the survey was awesome. Appreciate everybody taking the time. I got to tell you, between that and the survey we did before, we've got over almost 1,300 surveys back with feedback on the project and different aspects of it. So
people are interested in these things on Fort Myers Beach. It's not like you're getting a PR survey sent out in your email that most people ignore. So far, you've put 2 applications in, I think, with the town, right? And they're not the big kahuna. You haven't put the building one in. Oh, everything's in.
Not for the building permits. All right. So these are the entitlements. So the first one is a minor map change to the comprehensive plan. So we're not changing anything within the comprehensive plan. None of the restrictions or criteria. What we're doing is extending the downtown district with the pedestrian commercial use to the rest of our property. So part of it's in there now. The part we bought with SOBs, we want to continue that along the bayfront. So that's a minor map amendment to the comprehensive plan, but it doesn't change any of the other rules within it. Then the second one, and they run side by side, is the CPD, the commercial plan development. And that's already built into the land development code and the comprehensive plan for projects like this. So you need to go in front of the staff. We're in front of staff right now. We'll be going in front of the LPA and having public hearing. They'll vote, and they'll push it on to the council, and they'll have public hearing and vote. And if it's the right thing, and it's got the right public benefits and fits what the theme of the island is, it'll move forward. If it doesn't, it won't. And it's only for our property. So I hear a lot of people play around with these terms and words. I really want to clarify that, because they were, that's by right, everybody's going to be able to do this or do that. That's not true. When you do a CPD, I mean, even the 7-Eleven's got to do a CPD, because that's not a normal use for the island, right? So it could be small, kind of odd projects like that, or it was really meant for more projects like what we're doing that are comprehensive and a little different scale. So we are following the rules. So for those that say we're not following the process, we are. This is how it's set up and how it's designed. It doesn't mean we're going to get approved, but we're following the path.
The map amendment that you were talking about, doesn't require a comprehensive plan amendment. Can you explain a little bit what that is?
Because when people sometimes talk about the comprehensive plan, they say it's got to go through the state, and the changes are huge. It takes forever.
So this is what I'm going to give you my layman's terms. So I'm not a professional,
better than ours.
But basically, you've got a downtown district that was drawn as part of our comprehensive plan, and it stops at what the existing Marina line was, but it goes down Old San Carlos and goes 200 feet from it. So it stops at our original Marina property line. We want to extend it to the Marina property along the bayfront. And Old San Carlos, the SOBs, the 3rd Street and Old San Carlos property was already in it. So we're just extending it on, just expanding the downtown district. That's all.
And that doesn't include just the property that you're on, not any other adjacent properties, or it's just going to carve that out for you guys. Okay.
That's the ones we own, the ones you see on our website and in our master plan. That's the ones we're looking to put into the downtown district.
Ben, one of the things I think that you really studied is the number of rooms on Fort Myers Beach that have been lost since I don't even know when you did the research on that. Tell people what the numbers are that you found out of the number of rooms that are lost.
Okay. So pre-Hurricane Ian, you had 8,568 short-term rental rooms, right? Currently, you have 1,951 short-term rental rooms on the island. Pre-hurricane, you had 5,860 hotel rooms. Currently, you have 1,755 hotel rooms, is the math we've been given. And this is through the town, through the Lee County Convention Visitors Bureau, and Air DNA has most of the research on short-term rentals. So when you think about that, so pre-hurricane, 60% of the tourist beds were sitting in our residential neighborhoods. They weren't in the downtown district. They weren't in the nodes designed for them, right? Now they're gone. So, right, you got 77% of the short-term rental rooms are gone. You got 70% of the hotel rooms are gone. When they come back, where do you want them? I mean, you're missing 4,000 hotel rooms. We're talking about put 400 in this complex back, and everybody's losing their mind. It's like, we've got to put them somewhere, and we want it for diversity of product. But this is the way the town was set up. The highest density, the most intense use should be in the downtown area. That's where the infrastructure is. That's where everybody wants to go. That's where you go shop, eat, go to the beach, get on a boat, all those things, right? So that's where it's meant to be. If you read the comprehensive plan and you read the land development code, this is where it's supposed to be.
Go ahead.
Can you parse out again just the hotel, either rooms or bed? Because I was there last night and it was different numbers, but they were talking about beds. And so,
right. And so
you know,
we try to equate it to rooms, right? So, or wait, are we beds or rooms? I'm sorry, we're rooms. So and I guess you could do it a lot of different ways, right?
Right.
So, but it's, and you cut these things in half or double them, I don't care what you do, it's still significant, right? So, but our numbers show that we had 5,860 hotel rooms before the hurricane. And currently in September of this year, we're sitting at 1,755. And I'm trying to figure out where those even are.
And that's just on the island?
Yeah, where are they? I mean, there's only 4 hotels.
Well, no. But
hotels in Roe.
the 5,000 number was just on the Fort Myers Beach Island. It didn't include just on the island.
Yes, that's my understanding. Is that right?
Okay.
3931, the 31 zip code, 33931 zip code.
Yeah, well, yeah, and there weren't any hotels on the other side of the bridge there, right? Up to Walmart. I mean, there weren't hotels. There were.
Latitude, yeah.
Well, it's not a lot. Anyway.
But my point is, and you think about it, so then let me bring up the hot topic is traffic, right? People are like, well, wait, you're going to put all this traffic where it needs to be. All right, so I started thinking about it, and I had a dream the other night, and I'm like, you get on an airplane and you're watching the screen in front of you, and it shows, Delta and the hub and all the lines flying into Atlanta, and then they fly everywhere else and show how they hub and spoke all their routes. So think of a short-term rental coming across that bridge, and you're going to paint a line on it, and you're going to follow that vehicle, because you got to drive now, because you're going in somebody's home or condo, so you're driving a car for sure. And you go mid-island and you stop, you get your keys, you get in, then you go to the grocery store and you go back, then you go to the beach and you go back, then we're going to go to dinner and we're going to go back, then you go to the drugstore and you get sunscreen, you go back, and you do all these things the whole time you're there. You go and then take it and go back to where we were. In the peak season, they're all full. You got 8,568 of those things going on with people going back and forth all over the island. You don't think that's traffic? Now think of 400 rooms down there, or any number of rooms, but just think of a hotel room. That line goes over the bridge, does 2 right turns, and goes in a parking garage, and probably sits there most of the week, if not all week. And a good fair share of them will take an Uber or a shuttle to get there. They can walk to the beach, they can get on a boat. They can shop, they can dine, they can go to bars, they can get on the trolley, the tram, they get on a boat ferry now. It's so much less impactful. And it's the first time I could actually visualize it in my head and go, okay, I think this is how you can explain it. Because when you spread out all those tourist rooms all over the place, that's what happens. Everybody's driving everywhere, and we're forcing them to. And I
Well,
think the traffic.
those vacation rentals will come back. So, I mean, yeah. So one of the things that I talk to people about these things all the time is like, let's say yours gets approved and just hypothetically, and Meyer side gets approved, and then you got the Neptune, and I don't know about the Pink Shell. I mean, so you got all these big projects over there. That's in one small area. That really, and we're talking about the worst area for the traffic, one lane each way. It's never going to change. I mean, how do you justify? I'm not justify, but how do you figure that out? That's going to be a 5 years from now if everything is open, which is a long shot for even if they're all approved tomorrow. But I mean, just for argument's sake, that's a small spot for all those extra people.
Well, if you read the comprehensive plan and the land development code, that's where it's designed to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the most intense area is. It's designed for pedestrian friendly, for bicycles. It's got trolleys and trams going through it. It's got all the things you want. So it's actually the right spot for more intense development. That's exactly what it was designed to do. So to say that's too much, it's back to my point. Just visualize when people go to these places, they're probably not going to drive their car there. We had meetings with all the major employers. Now there's new ones coming on about sharing shuttles from the airport for employees and different things. So you start, minimizing even some of that impact, but just assume they all drive cars. It's still less because they don't have to drive them again after they park them. Mm-hmm. If we can all park what we're putting up like we are, then it's probably the smart place to be. I mean, that's what it was designed originally to do that.
When and I don't know a lot about this stuff or nothing, but so when you're talking about intensity, how do you quantify that? Like we hear FAR, we hear those kind of data, those kind of quantifying points. How do you quantify the impact or the intensity of all of those people in that area?
So when you look at, we have a much larger piece of property, I think, than people realize. So we've got 5 acres, and it's by far probably the largest, and it's all upland. It's not like a lot of the properties on the beach side might show that they have a lot, 4 or 5 acres, but what you can build on is really a smaller version because they're past the coastal construction line. So our property is actually really big. So our floor area ratio is less than the comprehensive plan allows. And if you don't include our understory parking, which looks like it's fairly likely that might come about, we don't even exceed what the land development code allows. So, forget what's in it, forget the room number. So we can put that size structure up. What do you want us to put in the box? I mean, if you don't want hotel rooms, what do you want me to build? Condos? Do you want me to build retail mall? I don't know what you put in there if you're not going to put, and that's why we put the right team together to get a really good blend. We've got diversified hotel products. So you got extended stay, mid-range, you got a boutique luxury. They all look different, different price points. You've got convention capabilities now to get some year-round revenue streams and tie in with Margaritaville and Pink Shell and Diamond Head. Now you could do some joint things together in the off season to keep some monetary stuff flowing around. It's the building size isn't the issue. People are freaking out about a room count number, and it's not really the issue. I know it's scary. I get it, man. I've grown up there. I know the idea, but we have to look at this past week. We've got to think a little different, right? And we want to do it the right way. And we think everything we're asking for has got a huge amount of community benefit and a really cool place that people want to hang out. That'll be, really exciting 20, 30 years down the road. So we just think we think we've nailed. Took a lot of feedback and input, and do we hit everybody's hot buttons? No, but we think we got it right.
So were there any modifications that you want to share from the original time we spoke, or that you presented it? I think you said they're just minor modifications. Have you?
Yeah.
Is the number of floors the same and the number of rooms the same?
Yep. And when we stuck with that higher that understory, for the resiliency. I just
Mhm.
felt like it made sense to get a couple more feet, get the elevation up and get that 21 feet clear underneath. We just thought that resiliency and the quality made sense. So things you probably wouldn't notice. Some of the neighbors brought up some, viewpoints back into their homes on the backside and coming up balcony. So what we do with landscape, and can they still see down the canal? Things other people wouldn't notice. But we got some of the best feedback, and we've been able to implement a lot of those all the way through the project. So I just want to thank everybody for all the feedback and the neighbors and the input, and addressing concerns. We were able to do a lot of things up front that probably we wouldn't even have thought of and would have been impossible later on. So but nothing, you're not going to look at that plan and go, oh my God, they changed this.
Okay.
I guess we have a financial commitment to the water ferry. We've, doing other things to just more solidify. But, you got to remember in our outreach, we had charrettes all week. We did the open house. We've done 1,300 surveys. We've met with neighbors 2 or 3 times. We've met with all the business owners on the island, the major employers on the island, FDOT and the fire department. The planning staff, the council, LPA, we've tried to bring it all in and get it right. And we think we have.
What else is going to be in there besides hotel rooms? Are you going to have commercial? Are you going to have, what else is going in?
Absolutely. So if you look at that whole upper deck, so you got the outdoor plaza level, and then all along there are your restaurants, retail. So that, so you got your bay walk on the down below, and on those red awnings are all the local vendors. So entrepreneurs will be down there, so you can get your business started up, and you could be selling food or seafood. We have farmers markets, different things. And you go on the upper level, the plaza, all that's open space for the public, and that's where you'll have restaurants, retail outlets, shops, and everything open to the public on that whole second level. So the hotel rooms start above that. So the hotel rooms don't start until the 3rd floor.
So the height is always a big discussion. Everyone talks about the height. And how high are you guys going up with the buildings?
Tallest building is equal to what Marina Village is next door. All right. Okay. So that's always our benchmark. In the comprehensive plan, it says that to do do like kind height next door. Try not to go higher. So they recommend that type. So we tried to stay that as the benchmark. And what that also does is keeps your lines of sight, open. When you come over the bridge, you can still see over the tops, but you've got nice rooftop bars and rooftop amenities. And, in the height, to be honest, we don't need it we're not getting any more building with the height.
Okay.
What we're getting is a better quality development. We get a real village. Now you get lines of sight going down Harbor Court and Bonita Street. And when you're coming down the bay, when you go up, you can create the plazas. You can do all these you can set back your buildings. And so you're not just looking at a wall when you get on the waterfront. If we squish those buildings down, they'll be the same size. Floor area ratio is just fine. So now you're just going to have this big wall of hotel rooms. They'll be shorter, but is it better? I don't know. I don't think so. So we're not doing height for our benefit. It's more expensive to build, I would imagine, actually, than to squish it down. But we think it's a better quality. It's pedestrian friendly, the view corridors, it's more resilient. It's all the things that you want. So, we got a half-acre walking. You guys like to walk and bike and do your 5K runs. And it's a half-mile trail just on our property between the Baywalk.
So is it how many?
You could do that once and then you'd be done.
How many floors above? What the hell is it called? How many floors above? Is it?
It's 6 at the peak. Yeah.
Okay.
Same as Marina Village next door.
Gotcha. Okay. So
our bottom floor with nothing in it but parking is 21 feet. Right. So that's what I want you guys. So in our heights, we're putting a lot of stuff in that's not necessarily building.
Usable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot of you hear a lot of comments. I don't know on our page if people live there or don't live there. Everybody is free to comment and give their feedback. But some residents say, the comprehensive plan and the land development code say 3 above, flood elevation. That's what they say, and that's as high as you can go. I I don't know what the rules are. I don't even know if everybody that comments knows what the rules are.
But
So,
is that,
So
but getting a CPD, doesn't that allow you
To
to
apply
ask
for
for
this.
more?
yeah, I want to explain it. So the comprehensive plan does not stop you from that. All right. So we're doing nothing beyond the comprehensive plan. Nothing we're asking for is outside the comprehensive plan. So that's 100%. So, but when you do a CPD, you can do above and beyond the land development code, which is underneath the comprehensive plan, if you can justify it with community benefit and other things. And that's why you do a CPD for these type of developments, right? But it has to stay within the comprehensive plan, or I would be asking to change the comprehensive plan.
okay.
I'm not. I'm just doing a map amendment, right? So the thing that you do with a commercial plan development is say, okay, you know what? It should be, the most with the commercial pedestrian is 3 floors over parking. Well, I want to do 5 floors over parking, but I'm actually giving a bayfront walk and access to over 50% of a private development. So, right? These other developments aren't probably providing 50% public access throughout their whole development and putting in view corridors for the neighbors and doing all these things. So that's why we think our plan really makes sense, because of the community benefits we're offering, and it's the floor area ratio works. So if you don't want 400 rooms in there, what do you want me to put in the box?
Right.
So
what-
I just want to
wait.
reiterate what he said. I want to make sure, because this comes up all the time, and it does take, at least for me and certainly for him, a lot of repetition of
Yeah,
the information to really understand it. So I'm going to paraphrase this. You tell me how I'm wrong. The CPD is not, it's not, has any, it doesn't have anything to do with the comprehensive plan. It's to make adjustments or whatever to the land development code.
Right.
Is that
but
correct?
It has to fit within the comprehensive. It can't do anything
Right.
beyond the comprehensive plan,
But
but it can go beyond the land development code
okay.
if there's enough community benefit and reason to do
Right.
it.
But we've heard, and this I've heard both. There's no height restriction in the comp plan, or there is a height restriction, like an ultimate height restriction.
Well, I don't know if there is one, because you're building
Right.
high rises at the south end of the island, right? It's in the comp plan. So now you have, with your land development code, you have different nodes where you're supposed to have different densities, different personalities. That's where people are like, well, if you get it done, everybody's going to get it. Or, this is all this one got, that's all you should get. These nodes, every area was designed to be unique. I don't think if we get approved, I don't think everybody else should have one of these. If somebody else gets more, I don't get approved, and another one gets approved, nobody should have all of those. This is a unique island. The downtown district and our property is unique. Myerside's unique. Neptune End's unique. Everyone stands on their own, and that's what makes it special.
Yeah. So the community benefits that you mentioned, when you get into the negotiation with the LPA or the town council, we had Anita on, and we asked her how much a role the community benefits play. She said none.
But I don't know. None. But.
Yeah. It might not. I mean, we might not get this, so they might vote it down, and that's fine if they do. The town has to decide what they want. Right.
Right.
We've been here for 40 some years. This isn't new to us. We just think this is the right plan that fits and bridges the past to the future. So, but if it doesn't, if community benefits don't matter to her, we may not have her vote, but maybe somebody else that does. Right.
So
in the comprehensive plan or in the land development code, it says you should consider and weigh those two.
Okay. Now, what feedback have you gotten from the staff so far? Is this just technical stuff to make sure you filled out the application right? Or are they giving you some really serious feedback about this is right, this is wrong? I mean, how does that whole thing work? And I don't mean to downplay
we
the staff.
We had a pre-application meeting with them a month or two ago. So last time I was down. So now it's more formalized. And so we've officially submitted and paid our fees and done all that. So now they're in the process. They're reviewing it, and they're going to give us feedback and make sure it's right. And they do something called concurrency. And once they're able to issue that, to say, hey, everything checks out, and then it moves on. They go move it to the LPA to go on their agenda.
So what is your
public hearing and a vote?
Yeah. And the process, I believe, we'll be seeing over the next few years is 1 public hearing at the LPA, 2 public hearings at the town council when it moves on. And it can move on even if a development gets voted down 7-0, the developer can decide to take it to the town council anyway. I mean, that they can recommend that it gets denied, and the town council can. I mean, we've seen this with other things in the past. It's just a recommending body, but so that's what do you see the time frame, the timeline being about when you get to the LPA? I mean, one of these damn projects has to get to the LPA soon.
Right. Well, so we're moving as quick as they'll move with us, right? So we're I think if things go fairly smoothly and typical, we think we'll be in front of the LPA by the first of the year, and we'll be in front of the council by the end of the first quarter. So that now you got the holidays and different things. If we can speed up a couple timelines here and there, or we get delayed, we get kicked for something that we're not expecting, I would be surprised. I mean, our package is pretty comprehensive, so we think we've got it pretty well nailed down. But it takes once or twice with the staff to get everything they want in the order they want it. So if we get it by the end of the first quarter, we'll know what the vote is, and if we're able to move forward, then we go forward with construction drawings and through the end of the year and possibly into the first quarter, and go for building permits, and then move forward from there.
So how many LPA votes do you have?
I don't know. I mean, nobody's told us their votes, to be honest with you. So it's like, positive feedback. We've been talking to them from the beginning before we did the charrettes and everything. Hey, what do y'all think? Here's what kind of where we're seeing things. What do you see? So we know there's some with concerns. We know there's some that are, seem to be fairly positive, but nobody said, hey, you got my vote, or no, you don't. So that's not what this is about. And I know the attitudes are evolving as you see different projects come up. I see that, people go, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? What's the island going to look like? And, but man, look at this week. Look at the island. All right. I mean, that storm how close was it? A couple hundred miles away, and we're still sitting there. It was a king tide and all the other things, but, I mean, that's a lot of water to have all over the island. And maybe poor Dock Forge, they just got rebuilt and done, and they're buried. I mean, just think of your business. All right. What if every time a storm comes by, all your inventory, all your shirts go away, your tags, your microphones, all your stuff goes away, and you don't get to broadcast for about a month or two. And then you got to come back and re-kick all your customers. I mean, how hard is that? Yeah. And that's what businesses got to look forward to.
Ben, you must think you have a pretty good chance to get approved, or you wouldn't be spending all this time and money to get it to this point. I mean, do you think you got a good chance?
I think I have a fair chance. I'll tell you what I do believe. I believe we've got the right project. Will it get approved or not? I don't know. Will I build the wrong project? I won't. I don't need to. I didn't buy I'm not a developer. I didn't buy this. I don't have to build this. We're doing what we think is a really good development long-term for the beach in the right spot. So if they say, hey, you got to be this and that, and it doesn't work or whatever, it's not financial. It's not like, oh my God, you got to make us profitable. It's if it fits and it works. And I think I told everybody early what I thought the key elements were to make a project work for us. If it does, and we can build a really viable project, I'm not saying I'm not flexible at all, but I'm just not, I'm not going to let it mush down and get all mangled up, right? It's a very integrated development with really high-end professionals who help put it together. So you start pulling the Jenga blocks out, sooner or later, this thing gets uneasy. Oh, well, so there's the floor. I'll just do this. I'll just do that. Well, when you start doing these things, they have, they magnify out in all the other elements. And so it gets complicated. It's not as pedestrian friendly. Suddenly, let's push the floors down. Well, then you lose your view corridors, and now you got no breezes, and everybody's looking at solid wall of buildings, and all these things start happening and morphing, and you just got to be careful. So all I've asked is, hey, if you don't like something, explain why exactly. And if it's traffic, let's talk traffic. If it's what is it? If it's noise, and to be honest, I haven't heard a good reason from anyone yet, except I just don't like it. If
Well,
there's a
I haven't
negative,
really heard, haven't really heard that at all. I just don't
well,
like
no,
it.
but I mean, I just don't like the height. I just don't like
Okay.
the room count number. It just sounds scary, or
Well,
and it's like that's what I just go, well, okay, bring me more. I hear you, but tell me, what about
Right. Be
the
more
room
specific.
count? What
well,
about the height?
Go ahead.
I think that, people after the storm, it takes a while to sort of come. You hear people say, look, the islands, at first it was, we want all the mom and pops back. And then that became probably not the reality due to the cost
Some people
of
still-
stuff. Yeah, some people still do, but I think I think that that's it, that people, as they evolve and sort of see that would be so difficult for a mom and pop on the ground level, like those places they can't exist, and they might not be, I'm not a hotelier, but they might not be profitable enough to do that. And so it does sort of lend itself to bigger.
Hey, don't bring up the P word. You're not allowed to talk about profit or return.
Well, I think, he and I got into that too. Like, it's kind of a sticky wicket, because I think everybody understands you have to make some money. I think, when you hear everybody's definition of how much is enough is big.
And it's nobody's business.
Right. But when the insurance companies and all that was going on, and you would hear what the CEOs made and people aren't getting their money, it's like, oh, this is bullshit,
Right.
So
I get it. I get that the council shouldn't be voting based on somebody's return. That's not it.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it's just a given. If it's not a good investment, people aren't going to build it. It doesn't. There's no threat in that. It's got to make sense, and that doesn't mean that should get a vote or not. I mean, what I want is, I'd love for the island to have a vision, and put the right things in the right places that make sense. If I didn't believe this was the right thing in the right place, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about it. We'd be probably doing business as we normally have for 40 years, right?
So one of the things we watched go on for what seemed like years was that the previous government bent Tom over 50 ways from Sunday, extracting this and taking that, and we want that, and here's he kept saying yes, and it's eventually going to be open. That doesn't sound like something you're going to put up with.
It's just not my personality. I mean, I give Tom all the credit. I mean, he got it done, and I'll give him, because he got it over the finish line, right? And I'm sure he's going to have a very successful business in the long run, and it's going to be worth it. I don't have that personality, all right? Just don't. So I want to do it right. I'm trying to lay all the cards on the table. I told everybody I was going to be transparent. I'm going to show it all. I haven't hidden anything. I can't tell you you're going to like it. You may or may not, and that's fine. But that's the other thing. Let's be respectful with each other. People personally attacking each other and all this stuff. I mean, we all want the best for the island, right? And I don't care if you're a resident, a tourist, or a business owner, or a developer. So, just disagree. Say, hey, I don't like the plan. And like I said earlier, if we don't get approved, I'm not going to go around with a chip on my shoulder around people. I mean, vote for it, don't vote for it. So as long as you do it with your heart and you really studied it, you did it for the right reasons, then let's get it done. If it doesn't work, I took a gamble. I've spent some good amount of money getting to where we are, because I think I have confidence, and I think it's a really good plan. But I don't have any sense of confidence it's a done deal, right? So there's challenges and things that we're going to look at, but right now I think we've got it right. I feel so comfortable looking everybody in the eye and saying that's the right plan.
So let's take
that spot.
Ben, let's take this question from Greg. You have zero density now, and you want 400 rooms that are 6 stories over flood. What are the benefits to the residents?
Right. So right now it's private property, right? If you don't have a boat at the marina, you don't get to come on the property, right? So you have public access to the bayfront. So, and that's a linear park. You have over 50% access to the total complex, to restaurants, bars. So it's really more of a public environment than it is a private resort. So most resorts you're talking about on these other developments, those are private resorts. Now they can invite you maybe into a restaurant or not, but we're letting people come in and out, doing the boats, the ferries. We've got additional parking. We've got almost 100 extra parking over what's required for the public. We've got entrepreneurial space for local businesses. You were talking about how hard it is to start a shop or a little food truck now. Well, we've got space for that. That whole Arches Bayfront has got places set up for them to set up and have a workspace. We got view corridors for the residential neighbors. We've got transit options we've put together. So we think we've come to the table with a really strong product. But public access to the Bayfront right now, the whole town legally only has Bayside Park.
Right.
Right.
So
you got to go buy a sandwich at Snug or whatever. So
will people have to pay a resort fee if they want to come and use the amenities, or how is that going to work?
Like the pools, like there'll be some amenities that are hotel specific, right? So,
Okay.
But everything we have on there, the whole second elevated level and the whole bayfront and all the items around it, that's all public access. So you look at all those huge plazas, and you got the bay walk along the water, you got above the red roofs and all those elevated plazas, and all the restaurants and bars and rooftop bars are public access. So we've calculated that over 50% of the complex is available to the public. You can come walk.
That's good to know.
Yeah, right. So those are things that you don't have to do as a resort, right? So, but I'm putting that in. I think I think it makes a resort better. To be honest, I think it's smart business.
Right.
And two, I think it's a big benefit. So everything we're doing, we think there's mutually beneficial. So I don't know if there's anything that I'm just saying, I'm just throwing out there as just a pile of money with no benefit to the village concept. But I think when you can do win-win, it's good for the public and it's good for the development. Those are the kind of things that you really want to try to find. And I think we've done a good job of it.
So on the top of one of the buildings is going to be a pool. It looked like there was a green space.
Yeah, I mean, these are concepts, right? But our main thing is the pool on top of the parking garage. So if you look, and that's going to be looking back over the Gulf of Mexico. So that's a 4-story parking garage, I believe.
Okay.
And with the pool on top. Then the other one on the far right on the canal side that you're looking at, that's probably a private one for the boutique, more the luxury hotel on that corner. So we try to get quieter as we go to the residential sides. So we want the noise to subside as we get back there. And then we have the green walkway around the backside of the property, creating buffer between the residents. And so those are some of the adjustments we made recently to try to make sure we are protecting their lines of sight and sound and different things. So we've got great feedback.
Have you gotten feedback specifically from those neighborhoods behind, like Bonita Street? And I can't remember what.
I've talked to all of them either face to face or on the phone. I've talked to 3 to 4 generations at a time on group calls, and I mean, to be honest, that's where some of our best feedback came from. They had some great ideas that were really made sense and simple to implement at this time. So, and those were
some of those homes are close to y'all I mean, they seem like they're right there at the like where Rude Shrimp is, like that part.
Well, you'll see in our plans, if you go back and look, if you look at the fly through, you can see the greenway around the back. That's 25, 30 feet. That's really dense, and it creates a big buffer. And again, with a little more height, we're going with that higher understory. I can bring all the dumpsters inside. I can keep all the delivery vehicles. I can keep the emergency vehicles can come under the buildings. So they're not having dumpsters by their house. They're not having delivery trucks next to their house. So those are the type of things, again, when you start just pulling one Jenga block out, things start cascading fairly quickly. And those are commitments that we've kind of made in complex. I got to be honest, that's where I get nervous is saying, "Oh, I'll just shrink this or do that." I got to go back then and talk to neighbors and say, "Wait a minute, well now I got to go put dumpsters out by your house because we can't put the truck under the building." I had to lower it 8 feet just in that. So I think then you can see the complexity of what happens. And that's why see how you can even see through the parking garages there, the slatted deals. And so with that height, it gives you this sense of scope. And you'll see the greenway here in a minute, but that'll be the buffer between the residential neighbors and ours. I think this is where it is. You can kind of see the landscape and how wide it is, and then we have a turnaround spot. Another recommendation they had for their garbage trucks in their neighborhoods. So these are dead end streets now. Those are no turnarounds. We've created a turnaround for them in our property, so their delivery vehicles can come in, loop around the backside, and get in and out easily and smoothly, not doing 3-point turns in people's driveways.
He steps down.
So, what is your biggest challenge here, Ben? What do you see as a reason that you have to fight for something? I mean, what are you hearing? What are you seeing? What are you expecting?
Well, I think doing this, one is communicating, right, and getting it out, and getting rid of all the BS, the misconceptions. What are we really asking for? What's the real benefits? And then as long as that's clear and there's clear communication, and then move forward. We got to get 3 votes, right, at the end of the day. But I want it to be, I'd love for it to be unanimous. Everybody love it. That's not realistic. But I want it to be something positive, hopefully, that the beach community in general would be supportive of, and so that's our hope. We've been there a long time. We plan to be there a long time. So I'd hate to go into in a firestorm. That's not the goal.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a question on there, and I think I know the answer, but I'm gonna let you answer it. So boat storage, yay or nay?
Well, it depends on what we get approved, right? So if we have to do a real modified version, I got to pretty much scrap the plan. And then, so if we put this in, there is no boat storage, dry boat storage. We allow the wet slips in the marina, but we wouldn't have the dry. But what we do is we open up those docks to the public for the water ferries and tours, fishing charters, and a lot of things we don't really focus on too much right now. We focus on our wet slip customers and our dry stack customers are really who comes on the property. What changes is those docks really become part of the public. At least part of those will be really focused towards public access. So
did we miss anything, Ben? Did you want to make sure that you said anything to the residents or the visitors or anybody out there? I want to make sure that we don't leave anything.
No, I mean, I think the traffic, was a big one. I think we got to it, and I hope that kind of answers when we talk about destination resort traffic. I heard some people saying, "Oh, well, he says he's going to lower traffic." No, we're not lowering traffic, but for putting what we're talking about in, it's less impactful than doing the opposite. So it's like, which is more impactful, right? So doing short-term rentals, pushing it all there, or putting rooms where they're really designed to go, and in a destination resort where you don't have to get back in a vehicle if you do drive one, we think it's less impactful. And why 400 rooms? Everybody says it's really multiple hotel products. So, Meyerside's an acre, right? So, we're talking about doing multiple hotel products and restaurants and bars and retail shops and plaza levels and docks and marinas and lines of sight and view and incubator space for locals. When you kind of put it all together, it changes the dynamic, and over 50% of it accessible to the public. You don't need to pay a fee to go to any of it, right? So
what's the likelihood of doing shuttles from RSW down there? I mean, I just know that if we fly in someplace and we always take the shuttle to the hotel. I mean, usually they're near the airport, but
well, we had the meeting in the Shred. We had all we had Pink Shell and Margaritaville, and I don't think we had Diamond Head there yet, but getting all the major employers, now you'd want to put the additional ones that are popping up. And can we share shuttle service from the airport together? Can we share employee shuttles coming on and off the island? So I think it makes sense. Why? I mean, we'll have to recruit employees. How are we going to get them on and off the island efficiently, right? That's a key.
And where are they going to park? I mean, it was a problem before.
Shuttle, that'd be the way to do it, right? And so now we're trying to work with FDOT and Lee County to see about really having an express lane. I can't promise anybody that that's going to happen, but we have kickstarted that conversation. We're moving forward with it. We are going to offer shuttles, but if they sit in traffic, they might look a little bit like the trolley that is empty because it's sitting in traffic with everybody else. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, that's just my realistic side talking. But we're going to offer them. Absolutely. I think guests will take them, or they'll take an Uber and just drop off and not need a car again.
So, Ben, if everything went along perfectly and you got all your approvals and there wasn't any craziness, how long does it take a project like this before it's actually cutting a ribbon?
So if all goes smooth and we start construction in the first part of 25, then, you're 18, 24-month build for something like this.
Wait, 25? Did you say 25?
Yeah. You start construction in the first quarter of 25.
And then almost 2 years. So you're talking 27.
26, late 26, 27. Yeah.
Wow,
Do you think it'll take till 25 before you can put a shovel in the ground?
More than likely, yeah. I mean, we got to get the entitlements done. I think the one question was like, well, you have zero density right now. Well, we're Marina, so yes. So if we don't, so if we can't put hotel rooms on a marina. So if we're able to rezone the property with those type of things, so we got to go through this process, and it takes time, right? We wanted to get the input, we wanted to get it right, and we put huge amount of restrictions on ourselves in here. But yeah, time, we'll be 26, 27 for something like this to come to life and turn.
Whenever I ask somebody that's doing one of these projects, it's the same kind of thing. I mean, 4 or 5 years before something gets built. It's unfortunate. I mean, I know that's the reality.
I think you guys, to folks who are used to doing that, it's like but for the average Joe or Jane, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Well,
and there's going to be a lot of empty land and empty property until then on that island.
Right. Well, I mean, just luckily we have a marina that's operating and going, right? But if we didn't, I was just sitting on empty land right? So just imagine these people who, paid a lot of money for this stuff, and they know that timeline's got it baked in there. So again, I know we don't want to talk about profit or return on investment, but those are realities, man. Everybody down there came as a tourist someday and came over that bridge or the old bridge and had this vision, and so we got to have places for tourists to go, and then they fell in love and wanted to come and make it their own, and we just got to make the opportunity for that to happen for the next generation. And we think that's why this works. This is what the next generation wants. This is the type of environment they like. And it bridges the old to the new. So it keeps the character, keeps some of the things, but it gives them really a lot of people way more access to the water. Right now, our only access to the water on the beach typically is on the beach. You go to the beach and put your toes in the water. Mm-hmm. You want to go get on a boat, it's really kind of hard. You got to go through a marina to a rental boat or jump on, a tour boat that some of them run, some don't. Some are big into it. Some marinas aren't, So this really creates a really vibrant spot for people to really activate to the water. So
you won't have a place for people to pull their boat, like pull their truck and drop their boat in, though. No. Okay.
No, we don't now. We can lift your boat off the trailer with a forklift, but we don't have a boat ramp. But there's one right at Bowditch and some other places.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Ben. Well, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate you giving us the update, and we look forward to keeping it going and watching the whole process go through, the staff and the LPA and the town council.
Yeah, well, I'll be totally bald by the time this thing gets done. So we'll be good. I appreciate y'all very much, and I appreciate your followers and all the input, good or bad. I look forward to seeing what everybody's got to say.
All right, you have a great holiday.
Thank
Ben.
you.
Thanks a lot.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Ben Freeland, everybody.
I just hope we're still around to see what happens.
The first thing I thought, every time somebody says 5 years, I'm like, man, I'm going to be dead by then. I'm never going to be able to record that ribbon cutting.
Just decrepit.
And I'm not saying this with any serious knowledge, but I think he has 3 votes, like on the town council. I think right now he has 3 votes. No, I think on the LPA is, I don't know. Anita's got a lot of sway on the LPA, and she seems to be ready to be rock solid on things. And I don't know if there's enough votes. And, while their input is important, I don't think, the council always follows the LPA. So it's going to be interesting to see all these projects
interesting when you
come forward.
When you hear about the number of hotel rooms or the beds or whatever, and how far it's down. And, you know, you think about those smaller hotels, a lot of them are not coming back.
Right. I mean,
So
you
that
start
puts
counting.
more density.
Right, but you
whatever.
start counting. I know it's not going to equal 400, but if you go up the road a little bit, John Richard had a little what was that? And then the shipwreck. They're not going to come back. He's putting a parking lot there, and if you make a right hand turn on Estero Boulevard, what were we stayed in one that one time? Those they were just brand new. What was the name of it? The Holiday Court or something? Weren't there a couple of them right there? I mean, who knows if they're ever coming back? And so I'm not saying it equals 400 or anything like that, but when you know, listen to those numbers, it's interesting.
Well,
so by the way, we started the show.
I'm not going to say my opinion.
Well, go right ahead. Your show. It's totally up to you.
I do think that however many beds there were before, like that's an important number. That's something to keep in mind, and that whoever gets approved first kind of is going to take up that amount, that excess that's not coming back. But at some point you're going to get to the point where
right. I mean, my thing is, and it's not a thing, it's just that all these projects, as Ben was saying, this was supposed to be this way, are really within a 1 mile area of each other, other than the Pink Shell is down the road a little bit. And I have to be honest, I haven't heard that. It sounds like they have 3 votes for that, even though they're going forward. I mean, you never know. By the time that comes to the full council, it could be a new council, and things could change. But, you know, you got the Neptune, and you got the Myers side, and you got Moss Marina, you got Margaritaville opening, and then possibility of a Pink Shell. That is a lot.
Not Pink Shell, possibility.
Yeah, possibility of a Pink Shell with the condos and a parking garage over there. Now you're bringing more cars onto the island to get to the parking garage. But I mean, again, what the hell do I know? Maybe it's supposed to be this way. So that first one that comes in front of the LPA and the town council is really going to be an interesting thing to watch. And I keep saying it because there's also an election coming up next year with 3 of these council members, Dan and Jim and Bill, are all up for re-election. Only Dan's announced he's running. So it's going to be interesting.
They're located. It's not like they can stick a big hotel conglomerate in the middle of where all the residential stuff is either. So it's got to go in those areas where it was planned development, I would think.
Half the time, I'm totally confused by the comprehensive plan and the land development code, because to me, people's perception of those 2 documents are like never consistent. Like everybody's got a different opinion of them. Some people think it's a living, breathing thing, and other people think they should rewrite it because it was written in the 90s. And but it'll just be interesting to watch how much they try and stick to whatever that document is, or they say, okay, you're giving us enough community benefit that we want to have that built down there, because that was what the original plan was. So the first one that comes through will be fun. Well, they'll all be fun to watch, because it seems like not everybody, a lot of people that comment on our page, and again, they could be just visitors and tourists, they just want 3 stories over flood, and that's it. And they if they're voters, then if it passes, then it will have an impact. So that whole thing is going to be interesting.
Well,
to watch.
I know there was a lot of positives last night at the meeting from Myers' side, so people really liked that.
All right, so the town has finally written the letter that some of you are going to get about your unsafe structures, and that's a nice way of really them saying the shit that you left untouched and needs to be fixed. And so let's see.
You're rude.
Yeah. Well, the property owners receiving an unsafe building notice must acquire an issued building permit prior to October 31st to either demolish it or repair the structure.
Wow.
So they're giving you even more time. The property owners must demolish or repair their structures and close their permits by requesting and passing all required inspection within 180 days of the permit. So October 31st is going to be a big day. What?
So they have to get a permit by October 31st.
Yep. And, obviously some buildings are already in the Ian debris cleanup and they're waiting.
People, I don't know.
What are you getting at?
People have shared with us that they're having trouble getting permits.
Well, I think this is a different thing. You can probably get a demo permit a lot easier than you can some of the rebuild permits. But What do I know? I mean, you're right. People are bitching about the permits a lot.
I mean, I would be like, at least they would have had to apply. Thank you.
Judy.
Applied, at least they would
Right.
have to
So the
apply.
two important things
I
are,
wonder if they're unsafe. Is that public?
I guess the town's folk will go out and look at the buildings. And I mean,
know,
some of them you could just say, come on. I don't know. I don't know how they'll do that. So maybe it's in this letter, but we'll post a letter so that you guys can read it. But you have until October 31st. And the town, I think this is like the first step to try and see where people are in the process. If you're in the process, I think this is mainly for the folks that are just ignoring their properties and just, not doing anything. But what's happening now too?
Somebody be ignored.
Well, you go through some of the neighborhoods and some of the neighbors are saying I've done all this work on my house. I'm trying to get, things back to normal and cutting the grass and blah, blah, blah. And they've got a house, two properties down and it hasn't been touched. And that they feel like that after almost a year, it's kind of, okay, somebody do something.
Well, I guess if they got an explanation as to why it was going on, there might be some good reasons. I'm guessing there are lots of.
I'm sure they're all over the board, and the town wants to find out.
Piece of property that is that.
Well, look in Times Square, dear. I know you don't like me picking on it, but look at Times Square. Those pieces of property that are sitting right next to the pier, there's rebar sticking out of that. That should all have been gone a long time ago. I hope they get the first letter on that piece of property there because everybody goes down there. I took some pictures today. They're digging out the concrete where the clock's going to go. They're fixing all that.
Debris is that
I almost wiped out down there. And by the way, I don't know if you saw a piece of the pier, a concrete piece of the pier fell during the storm, during this week. There was one piece, there's still pieces of concrete on top of that pier and it fell right down. And it's unfortunately, that's where some of the houseless people hang out. Well, luckily there was a storm. Yeah. So, the county has to come and pick that. So there's just a giant slab of concrete right in the beach now. But I mean, Pete, you can see from today with the farmers market there and they're fixing the clock. Times Square is getting whatever kind of life it can with Yo Taco down there and Tom. Geez, Tom was out there with. If you saw the video on Tom's Facebook, his Facebook page, he had some kind of machine that looked like a snowblower. He was pushing it in the sand to try and get the stuck sand off of the sidewalk, and it was churning the sand up and spitting it out. I'd never seen a machine like that. So, I mean, there is some activity in Times Square. Those people should be the first ones to get the letter. And I understand, too, the county is going to soon clean up, is it Crescent Park that's right there? When you come over the bridge with all the weeds and the nasty fence over there. So yeah. Well, they used to have a volleyball court. I don't think anyone ever played volleyball. So they are going to hopefully clean that up. So, all right. We have a lot of stuff going on this weekend, dear. We have a show tomorrow at 11 o'clock. We have. Yeah, every Saturday we do. 12:30, I'll be in the dunk tank. Greg Skasny said he's going to be over there paying some money to try and dunk me. But that's a full day of, I think Karen Woodson is in at 12 o'clock. She's the first one in there, and it's all to raise money for the beach kids. And then the race is on Sunday. It's $5 for 3 balls. So it really should be more than that. I think reimbursed
for the hotel. The whole
debacle,
the whole Delta debacle. I will say I complained about Delta, but they did make
I love Delta
things right. And so when I got that hotel room, which was a good amount of money reimbursed, now I have a little bit of cash.
Yeah, plus you and Jilly decided you were going to get off the plane and got what $1,200 in vouchers or something each. Yeah. Okay. So the race is Sunday. If you People have been asking where to park. If you go on our website, there's parking's an issue. First come, first serve at Diamond Head. Across the street, there's a lot that they own next to what used to be Hoosiers. We got an okay from the folks at Tuckaway to use that parking lot, and then Norms is giving everyone a break from 15 to 10 if you're out by 11. But even 15 helps his business out, which we're happy to do. And Lynn Hall Park is free, but that's a nice little healthy jog, warm-up jog down to Diamond Head. What?
So I went down to the beach last night.
Yeah.
and met somebody, and I tried.
Oh, here we go.
I have the Passport app. I have successfully used the Passport app. I could not get it to work last night. And I was so paranoid about getting a ticket, even though there weren't. Nope, there's only one car.
Where'd you go, to Wahoo Willie's?
No, I went to Yucatan.
Okay.
Then I drove around and went and parked in Lynn Hall. I must have tried that app. It just kept saying payment denied, payment denied. I checked the card. The card was okay. I did throw a little bit of a hissy fit because it's just, so I don't know. I'm going to try it again. I don't know if.
Well, if you parked out in front of Yucatan, you could have sat right by the edge there and watched the vehicle. And then when the guy ultimately showed up, I mean, how would he
run there and get in the car and zoom out?
How would he? No, you could show him that the app didn't work. That's what I mean. But I mean, how would they know it expired on you because you never put the money in unless they're there would be no way they know that
they would be like, there's no record of it. Here's your ticket.
I'm so tired of talking about the parking meters and the tickets and all that. It's just too much.
It just needs to.
No, Rhonda, you can't pay to have me dunked. You have to show up and throw the ball. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to throw one ball. When was the last time you threw a ball?
I wouldn't be surprised if I accidentally hit you in the head.
There better be a screen up. But what I'm saying is I'm not going to throw any because I know the minute I throw one, my shoulder's going to pop out or something like that. Anyway, so we'll see you guys tomorrow from Wahoo Willie's at, let's see, we'll be there at 9:30 if you want to come down and get a license plate, or you want to come down and get a hat, got a new hat, or whatever, a yellow shirt, or just say hi.
Yeah, we got a bunch of yellow shirts.
Yeah, and we'll see you Sunday at the race. Jim Adderholt's not going to be able to run in the race. He pulled his Achilles somehow. I said, Jim, how did you do that? Like, yes. How did you do that? He goes, he has no idea how he did it. He thinks maybe he got out of bed, stood on it, and pulled it or something. It wasn't like he should have said he was.
He should have made up.
Yeah, he should have said he was running from an alligator or some crazy shit. Right. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. You have a great holiday weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow live from Fort Myers Beach. Bye-bye.